Hello, this is the Digital Loop Season 3 Episode 4, but more importantly, it's the first episode of 2015. Hello, Ivan, Happy New Year!
Hi, Paul. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to all of you, our faithful and loyal listeners and watchers of the Digital Loop. Greetings and best wishes for 2015.
Yeah, they have to be very loyal and very faithful because if some of you remember on the last show, we said, oh, see you next week, and the next week has turned out almost like 4 weeks later. We both took like holidays, obviously, and some days off. So we're back in 2015, and to start with, we're going to talk about predictions. I'm not very big on the prediction game. You know, it's the usual thing. Every start of the year, everybody writes predictions about everything and nothing. When I say I'm not big of a prediction, is like it's a bit like futurist. You know, you say something at the beginning of 2015, and nobody will check what you said at the end of 2015. So basically, you can say pretty much anything you want. I'm exaggerating a bit. There will not be flying cars, though. No, you never know. But since Fred Wilson, who was the first speaker at Le Web, the event we went last month in Paris, wrote this a fantastic blog post about what he thought were the big trends of 2015. We thought we would actually elaborate on that. So maybe I'll start with Ivan. What are your thoughts on predictions, and what are your thoughts on the predictions for this year?
Well, first of all, I totally agree with you from the point of view that up to a certain point, I don't think it doesn't make any sense to make predictions because God knows what's going to happen tomorrow. God knows what's going to happen. I mean, to predict what's going to happen in an industry, I don't think there is much reality in that aspect. But I think it's interesting to follow the trends, to look at the direction where things are going, and based on that, try to be ready and be prepared because you never know what's going to happen. And in a way, one of my favorite authors, Seth Godin, says that he's so successful because he notices things. So at the end of the day, it's all about noticing things. And if you keep your eyes open and you see the direction where things are going, and you notice things, chances are that you might be a couple of steps ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, you're right.
Some of the things that we were talking about before we press the record button is how I believe that 2015 is going to be the year where more and more marketplace or Uber-ish companies will appear. I think that the model developed by Uber is going to be, 2015 is going to be the year where a lot of companies are going to be, is like Uber of, I don't know, grocery delivery or helicopter rides or portable ATMs or I don't know, dry cleaning. So I think we should expect that more and more companies are going to start to try to copy that business model into different areas.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, to a certain point, the on-demand economy, because I know there's many terms, the sharing economy, the collaborative economy, but I mean, I like the term on-demand. Not I like it in terms of I'm not saying that it's good for everyone involved. I like it in fact it represents really that you press on the button, you get something. It's true that this model is actually expanding very fast around the Silicon Valley and the Bay Area because that's where it happens. But we're seeing more and more of it actually happening in other countries as well. And I think a lot of companies will definitely try to follow that model, especially when you see that Uber is valued as so much a high valuation, more than $40 billion. Obviously, that attracts a lot of people. Talking about that, by the way, I don't know if you've seen Line, the messaging app that is very very popular in Japan, just launched an integrated taxi service as well as taxi hailing service. So you don't even have to have a separate app. You can actually directly hail an app from a messaging app. So this is something that's also interesting to follow. Continuing on that, the other thing that I think, I mean, basically, if you listen to us, we had a show about prediction. I think last year. I think it was December 2013. It was just right before, just while we were at Le Web a year ago. If you listen to us, what we said that year, you're gonna see that basically it's an evolution of what we said. The world hasn't dramatically changed suddenly like in a year. It's not as if like suddenly like Ivan said, God knows what's gonna happen tomorrow, but the world hasn't changed completely in a year. What we see the maturation of some of these trends. Ivan mentioned one. Uh, I don't know if it's Fred or someone else who said that social media as we knew it, sorry, is dead. I like that because it's something that both Ivan and myself have been hinting at actually for a while already. Is that it was really a first stage into this mass communication, mass networks, the on-demand economy. The communication and content were the first one hit. Of course, music and news and communications via social media. And it's true that, in a sense, because both of us, we've been using social media since 2006-7, you can see that there's clearly been a big change, and now it's become mature to a point that the word even social media is not used as much as it used to be. Thank God for the disappearance of a lot of social media experts, by the way. And
social media ninjas.
Yeah, the Jedis.
And gurus, yes.
You see that the companies that actually do that also have seen some kind of consolidation. We have less and less players. I'm not saying there's less and less social networks. There are less. Obviously, some of them died, but also all the economy around it, all the products that cater for either businesses, small or big, and or individuals. These companies like Hootsuite, if you think about it, used to be like many apps that would actually help you both schedule, monitor, etc. There's less and less now. They're big suits, so you can see that what happened is a consolidation of the market. So I like that trend. I think it will continue. I think more and more people are now seeing that the same impact that was on communication is happening on everything, and the everything is obviously real life, which is why I completely agree with Ivan when he says that. The Uber force, basically, you press a button and something happens in real life. And I think this is something we'll see more and more in 2015. Yeah. Another idea, Ivan?
A couple of ideas. We remember we were talking with Brian Solis, our friend Brian Solis. He wrote actually a very good article with his predictions about what he expects to happen in 2015. And some of the points that he mentioned, I think that this is exactly what you mentioned right now. The fact that messaging apps are becoming the new social media. That the rise of WhatsApp and Line and all these networks, that they are not a full network, because they don't have to be a full network. They are just a messaging app, and that's what's connecting the users, and that's how they are using these applications, and that's changing everything. So I think that this is very interesting what's going to happen as well. These apps are becoming the new social media.
Yeah, actually, sorry to interrupt. There's a lot of people who say that not only I totally agree with that, but they also say that the communication layer is moving towards a notification layer. So the fact that actually people interact via notifications instead of actually going into an app, sometimes actually the very quick, fast-paced interaction stays on the notification layer. It's something I'm not actually very big on, because all my notifications are actually off on my phone, because I don't want to be productive during my day. But it's true that I think that notifications is actually something that matters for how people communicate. Sorry.
Absolutely. I just wanted to mention a story. I don't know if it's true. If it's true, I think it's awesome. I'm a little bit going in a tangent, but a friend of mine told me, do you remember last year when this application called Yo came out?
Yeah, correct.
Yo. For those of you that maybe don't know, it's an application that the only function of this application is to send a yo to somebody else. So if I send a Paul, he send a message, he just gets yo. So he can yo me back, and that's it. And he was valuated like got $1 million or something, and I was like saying, oh my God, this is the end of humanity. There is no hope that an application like this is actually being successful. Somebody told me the story that in Israel they are using Yo as an alert system. So there is these people that if every single time there is, I don't know, a potential rocket attack or something happening from the Palestinian side, there is this, somebody press the button, everybody gets Yo, and it means, okay, duck and hide. I don't know if it's true, but if it's true, I mean, this is fascinating how people are learning how to use exactly what you mentioned, notifications, and this is something that it's going to be really, really, really important for a lot of people.
Do you think, connected with this? Yeah. Do you think actually that maybe this is what you were about to say, but do you think that wearables and especially smartwatches will have also an impact? Because there's been a big debate. If people watch CES, if you've been following what's happened at CES, a big consumer electronics show that happens in Vegas, I think it's still going on right now. We're in January. Everybody wants to talk about smartwatches. Obviously, Apple Watch is around the corner, probably next March, and of course, it's a very natural spot for notifications. So, do you think it's a big trend or not? Besides everybody talking about it.
I think it's going to be, but it's going to be slower than most people expect. Because I don't
I
think
agree.
the behavior, from the point of view of behavioral change, I don't know. I don't think that people will just jump at it right away. But a lot of early adopters are going to get them. They're going to be walking around with it. People are going to see them. They think it's cool. They're going to expand and they're going to share the benefits that they get because of that smartwatch. People are going to like it. Probably by Christmas next year is going to be a big hit, and people are going to start getting more and more and more. And that I don't think that is going to be the Apple Watch comes out and everybody
Actually,
goes crazy and everybody
actually,
gets it.
Fred Wilson said. I mean, there was a big misunderstanding about what he said, but Fred Wilson said that the Apple Watch will not be as a big success as the iPhone, which most people thought that he would say, oh, the iWatch, no, sorry, the iWatch. See, the Apple Watch is going to be a failure, which is not what he said. He said that the adoption, exactly what you just mentioned, the adoption rate will not be as big, at least at the beginning, and that he was not expecting such a boom. But if I mean, again, if you look at CES, everybody is talking smartwatches. Everybody's coming up with a smartwatch. It's pretty interesting. I mean, I don't know exactly. I'm like you. I'm not like, and not only specifically talking about the Apple Watch, although I clearly will be a leader of the market, but talking about um, smartwatches in general. And we'll have someone. I have a friend of mine who's big into that. We'll have someone in our show as a guest talking about these type of gadgets soon. But I don't think it will be this as big. I mean, mobile will still be the leader, the smartphone will be still the leader, if you want, of the pack. But it's still interesting, and it actually leads to two things. On the one side, in terms of wearables in general, because wearables is not only smartwatch. We've seen a lot of stuff happening at CES, and one of the big, I think, the big trends that's also going on and that was hinted at during the web as well is healthcare, and it's true in that sense. Smartwatches included, some of them actually included, the fact that these devices on you can help you monitor yourself. Will have some impact. It interests a lot of people. I mean, at the beginning, of course, we know about the Fitbits and the Jawbones and all this, and they help you monitor how much you walk during the day. Now we're starting to go like into heart rate monitoring, but we've seen already stuff that is even more interesting, that goes into more details and more specifics than just a heart rate and the number of steps you do per day. Is it something also that you think is going to be big? I think it's going to continue to increase. I know it's going to explode.
Exactly. Exactly, same thing. I think that people are getting more and more aware every single time. As I mentioned before, early adopters. I mean, I had this fuel band for I don't know 2 years already, and 2 years ago it was like, wow, what is this guy having? Today it's more common, I guess.
True.
Slowly it's going to be more common for a lot of people as more devices are available. But what I wanted to bring is connected with what you mentioned before, that, as I mentioned time and time again, and I mentioned this in many of my keynote presentations, at the end of the day, it's not about mobile, it's about mobility. The fact that thanks to these devices, we have the opportunity to have access to information, to do so many different things. And I think that a couple of things are getting very, very interesting. The fact that I don't like names, but Generation Z, the next generation after the millennials. If you think about it, they are mobile first, and there's the argument that they are mobile only. Most of this new generation that is coming, they are nothing like millennials, and they are mobile first. So the behaviors that these kids are going to have in the next few years, I think that they're going to have a big impact on how everything is going to change. Because also, this connected with the element of, for example, mobile payments. Mobile payments, it's right now is still too early, but I think that by the end of next year is going to skyrocket because
Actually,
again,
yeah, actually, sorry, I will just give you numbers. A Google Wallet who's been in the market since probably 2011. Yeah, these are US numbers only. Represents roughly 3 or 4% of payments. And Apple Pay, which has been released with iOS 8 in the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, so probably now less than 3 months, I think. They have 1%, and they're in talks to actually get into the UK. Yay, I'll kind of be able to use it. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, but again, this is not going to be a boom. I guess that right now is still too soon, and it's going to take time for people to get used to it. But all of a sudden, as again, the combination of this new generation that is pretty much focused on mobile, because that's how they grew up, just with the smartwatches and smartphones and smart devices and wearables. All of a sudden, the combination of these forces are going to have a big impact and again, mobile.
But actually, if you look also at the numbers, there were some numbers. I don't have them right in front of me, but I can put them on the notes after at digitalloop.co. If you look at the numbers, the number of purchases that were done through mobile, that includes tablets, for the Christmas season is actually really high. There's more and more people, and this is where we'll talk about maturation, and we mentioned both that term earlier in the show. You can see that people are getting used to actually do more and more stuff in mobile, through mobile. Sorry, if I were, I remember when we were, maybe you and me all as well, we might have been talking 3 years ago about, will you ever buy something big, like a plane ticket? But I'm not talking about $100 plane ticket or €100 plane ticket. I'm talking about, will you buy a round the world trip via your mobile? Most likely 3 years ago people wouldn't have, because they're like, oh, I'm gonna look, I'm gonna do some search, but then the actual purchase will happen on the computer, because I felt more safe about doing the big purchase. And we're seeing that it's actually going, that has matured actually very quickly, in that people are doing big purchases via mobile. Of course, Amazon has been one of the recipients of that success. You go to their app, you buy a big TV, you can buy even a car if you want, actually, and you do that through mobile. So more and more people are actually using that medium to buy purchases. And it's true that obviously a younger part of the generations will have just never have done any purchase on a desktop, because they have a mobile and that's it. So it's pretty interesting. I think also the way I'm not saying this is going to be a prediction for 2015 in terms of explosion, but we're going to see a lot more attempts by tools. I mean, we've seen that WeChat and Line offer already payments within. So Asia is leading in a way payments to purchase possibilities in e-commerce, even shops within their apps. I think that Twitter, we know, is working on some solutions as well to pay per tweet, etc. So I think they will continue to look at it, because they know this is important. I'm not going to be surprised if we start hearing that a tool like Snapchat, which is fantastically popular, will also attempt to do some type of e-commerce play or payment play. I don't know exactly. What I'm trying to say here is that we have to go where people are, and since you mentioned that youth demographic is on Snapchat, is probably also on Instagram, etc. So you might companies might want to try to appeal for them directly there. So talking about Asia, that's another prediction we can make. It's not too hard to make either. We're not going into like crazy territory, but if you look at, Asia has been, many people say Asia, just use the term Asia is leading the pack. It's not always true for everything, and not everything that happens in Asia will be replicated here. But one thing is for sure is we're seeing China, and you know that I'm working with China for a year now, that we've seen that Xiaomi, which is this smartphone manufacturer, is coming out. Has been coming out in Southeast Asia. Now is coming out is expected to come out in the rest of the world. They've been selling a lot of smartphones. I think we'll see more of that more and more. The country, it's a bit like, I said that in earlier shows, it's a bit like Japan in the past. For a long time people said, oh, they're just copying, and then suddenly, oh, they started releasing their own products that were very exciting and interesting and innovative. I think China is in the same path. So we're going to see, I know that a lot of people still criticize Xiaomi for looking too much like Apple, which basically was also something that Samsung was criticized for a few years ago. And I think we're going to see more and more of these companies coming out of China, and there's a big interest because they have scale. So that's another kind of not very difficult prediction to make. Anyone else? Anything else, Ivan?
No, I mean, we could talk for hours about this. So I guess more than going to specific, I mean, there is a lot of articles right now at this time of the year with a lot of predictions. So we might add some of the links at on the show notes.
Yeah, I will.
I think that what I think it's important again, not to focus too much on the predictions of the specific events, but more to focus on noticing where things are going.
Agree.
And I think that this is the best piece of advice that we can share to you guys, because a lot of things are happening. These are really exciting times. Keep your eyes open and keep coming back to the Digital Loop. We're here. 2015 is going to be a big year, and we'll be here talking and sharing ideas and concepts with you throughout 2015
Yeah,
and beyond.
exactly. Actually, if you want to know predictions about 2015, just listen to the show every week. I mean, it's not exactly every week. We know that it's on purpose. We don't call it a weekly show anymore because we're both very busy. But actually, yeah, and we were going to be talking about these trends because we think that these trends are ever changing. We're not futurists, but it's always interesting to have a pulse of the market. In that sense, I think Ivan is absolutely right. You have to have a pulse of the market to know where things are going. Two that I will be talking during the year is that we've talked here about the sexy stuff, and it's always easy to follow the sexy stuff. So basically, oh, there's a new smartwatch coming up, oh, there's this new fancy service coming up. But most people do not see that there's a non-sexy stuff that has to be followed. And I want to we're talking about cybersecurity. You hear about the big hacking that happened, whether it's Sony or Target last year. These are things that are going to happen more and more, and of course it's not sexy to think about it, but I think it's actually something that another trend that will have to be followed. Anyway, we're going to see probably next week actually with Ivan. We want to also thank you all because we've seen a big bump in the number of people who are listening to the show through podcast. As you can see, I was very careful to not playing with things that you see on the Vidcast so that people that are listening to us are not lost. When I mention something that happens, you have to watch it. So thank you very much, guys, and we'll try to keep up the quality of the show for 2015. That's a prediction.
Absolutely. Have a great day, guys, and see you next time.
See you next time. Godspeed. Bye.